Bayview Hunters Point. Bayview Hunters Point. If San Francisco is here, Golden Gate Bridge, Bay Bridge, Peninsula, Ocean, Bay, we're right here.
It'll be $3.
Well, you know where I live.
No, I'm just gonna be patient, and then you'll come and give it to me.
That's true.
With that, I welcome you to come discover the treasures we have and share your treasures so that we can concoct some nice recipe for building resilient, powerful, beautiful, empowered, relational communities where we build bridges of trust, bridges of social capital.
Family physician who had actually been a colleague of my grandfather's who died some years ago. He was a physician also, and they had met at Harlem Hospital many, many years ago. And so Dr. Cecil Marquez was from the Caribbean, and he just was a fabulous fixture in the community, and people would come and line up and sit in that waiting room quietly forever, otherwise he'd fuss at you, and he did not want that little man to fuss at you. And he'd read people the riot act, and so but nobody messed with him. He was great, and so, but he was just wonderful, and you could just see the magic in being a physician, and that's what I loved. And did an internship, or just shadowed while I was in high school at a couple of different hospitals. And what I loved about medicine was just the physician's ability to just sense different things like a detective about what was happening with a patient without even opening the patient saying a word. I remember one time going into the exam room with a physician, and the physician noticed that this elderly woman had on only one glove. And from that, he asked a whole series of questions and realized she'd had a minor stroke because she had a change in sensation in her hand, and that's why she had used the glove. And I just thought that was magic.
Sometimes I'll have the labels that says organic, whatever farm it's from. But I tell you, quite frankly, when the people see organic, it's like a bad word. To the people that's just starting to eat fruit and vegetables, you say organic, it's almost like you ask them to go to church.
I think when it comes to health, I really feel that I deal with stats, and I think we are in a crisis. When you have as many of us with hypertension, as many of us with heart disease, it pretty much scares me. As many as are suffering from diabetes, I'm really worried, partly because I don't know if we understand what the diet is doing to us.
We would train people in the community to lead a 4-session workshop and really find out how we can make a difference over that 4-week period. And how we can actually have people make positive health changes.
Hi, I'm Pat Coleman. I'm from the Arthur H. Coleman Medical Center and the Arthur H. Coleman Community Health Foundation. I've been working with Kaiser since, I think, 2006, and I've been working on the Caring for Your Family's Health project since 2007. And we actually launched the pilot project at the Coleman Clinic. So it's been a great ride. I love it.
Our African American Health Initiative Task Force was formed here at San Francisco Kaiser back in 2003. And that was born, as some of you may know, through the Hospital Council survey. All the hospitals participated and chipped in to do a survey about African American health, and they found wide disparities. And all the different hospitals had different ways of addressing that. And for San Francisco Kaiser, what we did was establish the task force. And what we really wanted to do is, one, make sure that we had a lot more education about African American health for all of our providers and staff here. Also, see if we could increase what we measure as member-patient satisfaction scores, but also certainly raise awareness of African American health care all over the United States and address health disparities in San Francisco.
Right. Well, my goal was to stay out of McDonald's, and I think they losing money because. And I've done that. I've done a good job. But now I'm going to really have to put myself to a test for my long-time goal.
And my goal was to exercise 3 times a week at 5 a.m. I was successful 2 days of that time. It was my own fault. Nobody else to blame but me, but I did feel good getting in that time. And like Barbara here, I didn't realize how out of shape I was.
I know you guys see each other every Sunday, but I want to emphasize, start partnering up, start recruiting each other to help each other in true honesty, how you guys can keep saving your lives, okay, and doing better.
For so long, it seems as if we all operate in silos, whether it's in different organizations or organizations separate from each other. And a lot of that is not intentional, but everybody's just trying to do their job. And what happens often times are whether it's different organizations either competing with each other or not wanting to, let a different organization have a leg up on the other, et cetera, then we kind of miss the boat. And I think that for all the energy expended and money expended, I think it would be better addressed. The whole health of the community would be better addressed by working together.
Until you have to take care of someone who has abused their body all the time, and now you are left with the burden because they want to live their lifestyle. You're now, I look at a person who smoked all their life, and now the family's stuck with dealing with them with a respirator because they felt that smoking was fine up until that, or drinking was fine. They never think about the impact that all these people now have to take care of you because you were too selfish to do the right things up to that point.
But if you've seen someone with those habits and have to go through that change with that individual or work with that individual, it does take an impact on your life. And this is part of what this class is all about. Changing your bodies, changing your lifestyle, so that in the long run, the impact will be positive for you and you won't cause so much harm to your own self. Physically, you're responsible for you. You only have one body.
It's more than just you. It's everybody who's now around you who, because of your selfishness, has now have to take care of you. And that's the piece that everybody doesn't always get.
But do you know, 6 months ago, right, my great niece, that means my niece's daughter, she got at the age of 9, diabetes. She has to shoot herself right now at 9 years old, right? And it's very hard to balance that out as a child, to help her to eat right as a child, because she has 2 other little sisters. They can eat what they want, but she can't. And what I explained even to other sisters, right? If you keep eating the way you're eating, you're gonna have diabetes, your sister have it.
Right.
But it's the control, but the mom doesn't control it, so the daughters don't.
Right.
So it's very difficult in that area, but she's 10 now. But just to see her have to go through what she got to go through at an early age, I don't wish that on nobody. So when we talk about diabetes, if you say it runs in your family, you better take that seriously, because when it hits hard.
I think we have to focus on it, not to discriminate and say we're the only ones in need, but in California we make up about 6.6% of the population. Yet when you look at how many of us have diabetes, we do need to focus, because there's a lot of money being spent on taking care of us. So we do need to focus. We need to let African Americans know what we can do, what the problem is. A lot of us don't even know what the problem is. We look at diabetes as something that just happens because my father had it, my sister had it, so therefore You know, I'm going to have it. I'm just going to take it where I go, where it takes me. So part of our education is to say diabetes is not automatic. There are some things that you can do about it.
What are the social norms? You know, the social norms, accepting that this is the way we eat, and sometimes that's huge peer pressure. We don't think about it like that as adults, but it is.
So if people started using their backyards and front lawns and to grow really good fruit and vegetables, then they could help spur a new cottage industry. Well, at least it'd be some work, because that really labor-intensive growing stuff. And if you get people helping, then the whole neighborhood can you know, the whole neighborhood can grow some stuff, and then they just know who was helping, and when the harvest comes, just divvy it up, and it'll be worth doing it, because I mean, it's fresh, locally grown. You know what's in it.
We have tremendous programs and outreach and chronic conditions management. We've got fabulous programs, but if those programs aren't working and you still have health disparities, then you have to think out of the box.
When we talk about the health benefits of community and backyard gardens, there are many. First off, of course, people are eating better. Nutrition improves because we're raising healthy fruits and vegetables in a place where there are food access issues. It's not easy to go find a healthy carrot in this neighborhood. And people are getting physically active. The people who are doing the gardening feel better mentally and physically because they're moving. And so when we see this garden, and in the early days, 10 years ago, when people first started to see what was a brand new, fresh garden with these beautiful flowers, people were seeing themselves reflected, and they were seeing the community that they remembered that has always been here. This beautiful community has always been here.
My wife and I would probably have been at this for about 4 or 5 years, maybe 4 years. And we decided to make a change in our environment and make a commitment to do something positive in terms of bringing people together, doing something that's healthy.
If we're going to remain relevant in our community as organizations and as leaders, we have to reshape how we think wellness. Wellness is just not, wellness is safety, wellness is eating right, wellness is, you know, medications you're being proposed to take. You know, wellness is it's education in the classroom, it's learning the greening of the environment. All of that is part of wellness, and I think we have to broaden our lens.
There are different health providers, large health providers, and small health providers in the community who are well known and trusted, that all are working together to help in terms of the healthy African American community. And I think that makes all the difference. And people can feel like, oh wow, they're serious about this. They don't just have their own interests at heart, but they really do have the health of the community at heart. And I think that message is much stronger than just coming from one organization or another.
It starts from within. I'm going to make a personal choice to get healthy. Now, if I make that choice and in my community there's nothing that's going to support that, that choice is going to go away pretty quickly. If I make a decision to be healthy and I walk into my local YMCA or my local Boys and Girls Club and there's some choices for me, whether it's a Zumba class.
That's it, just like that.
Was to eat 3 meals a day.
Cool.
And I was very successful.
History has been, you know, grandmother, mother, always fixed that Sunday meal, and that Sunday meal consisted of foods that now are really high in calories. We didn't know how many calories were in those things, or how we just knew that adding salt pork to greens made them taste good. But what we forget is that the people that were eating those meals, when they were prepared during that time, were probably working on a farm. And so that additional fat was good. Where most of our jobs are using our minds.
Even if you think about the generations past, people didn't talk about their health. They, people say, well, Grandpa died. What did he die of? I don't know. Nobody talked about it. And so, we have to overcome that. We have to be able to share information, gather past information, so we know, what our genetic risks are, and also what our environmental risks are, and be able, really be able to talk about that. And so that's, hopefully be able to really spread this dialogue so that it can be open conversation, throughout a whole community, so that, people can make conscious choices.
Some of it has to do with the fear of talking with doctors, and some of it has to do with the fear of having these secrets that you don't want to tell anyone about. And that's the most scariest part, is the secrets. Say, my grandmother had diabetes. I'm not going to tell them, although they're looking for that with me. I'll let them find out themselves. That's not any good. It's better to be open and explain or tell that information so that the doctors will have something to work with.
Raise your hand. How many people you know that has diabetes? How many people you know have high blood pressure? How many people you know have heart disease?
So you're saying you're going to eat more often. What do you mean by that? Every day? Because what we want are measurable, blocks of time.
Every day I do one.
Okay, so one meal.
You should establish a relationship with your doctor.
Right.
So when you feel the need to talk with your doctor, and you feel comfortable talking with your doctor, he's listening to you and he's understanding what you're saying.
Communication between you and the doctor. And if the communication valves are open, then the more you can gain or understand about your medical condition. And sometimes, in some cases, it is a preventative kind of medicine if you get a chance to do that kind of communication. And when you find a doctor that's human, that you can relate to, kind of feel comfortable with and express yourself, then...
Being in situations where it's hard to trust that somebody else has your best interest at heart, then you walk into a doctor's office and you're already feeling anxious about whatever is happening with your body, and your other additional stressors as well. Unless somebody is really making an effort to engage you as a person, to make you feel like they really do have your best interest at heart, it's hard to trust what they're saying. And that's true for anybody.
When I said that, I said to myself, a human doctor, that's a doctor that can relate to me on my language, on my vocabulary, break it down so that I can understand it. When I ask a question to him, it's not something that he's sneaky about or belittles me or make me feel insecure. So that's what I call the human doctor, the one that can interact on my level.
Some will say that diversity makes it more difficult to change communities, to do community and economic development work. It does certainly create all sorts of complications, but I wouldn't be living here if it weren't for the diversity. If this were a monochromatic neighborhood and people, I wouldn't be terribly interested.
Okay, another group that's ready?
Right here.
Okay. Number 2.
Okay, our contents here was diabetes and blood sugar, just having high blood sugar basically. And the things you can do about it, right, is if you know you have an improper diet, change it. You know, make sure your diets are filled with carbs, proteins, and fats crossed in the same meal. And when you go to grocery shopping, don't just throw things in the cart. Learn to read food labels, because most of the things you pick up has too much sugar in them in the first place. And that's why a lot of people are coming up with diabetes. Definitely you want to be extra conscious if it's hereditary, like you know somebody in your family that has diabetes. So you think it can't ever be you. Yes, it's right next door to you.
We should be eating. No, well, we're going to look at the labels on here and let you know what you're eating.
No opening these, okay? Look at the sodium. Look how high this is. So even if the fats are low, do try to modify the sodium. That's salt. And that will keep us, you know, hypertensive, okay?
But at the same time, I've been very conscientious of my eating because I love to eat, right? So I've been eating a lot of green foods lately. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's been different. It's kind of different. So I'm trying to get my body into the habit of liking what I don't like, which is green food.
For those who don't have to have the sense of support around them, and how can, again, have these open conversations in whatever group, whether it's a family, a real family, a genetic family, or created family that supports good behaviors?
Hypertension, high blood pressure, it's more common in African Americans than in any other ethnic group in the world.
Program to be helpful. On behalf of Kaiser Permanente, may you live well, be well, and thrive.
Many recipes have been handed down from generations to generation, and celebrations and family gathering with food may be an important part of your life. Is this an important part of our life? When we go visit our family, we always have a nice big what? Filet gumbo. Greens. What kind of greens? Wait a minute, wait, we got this going on. Okay. Chinese mustard. Collard green. How does your physical lifestyle differ from that of your grandparents? Better. How?
Because I stopped eating all that.
She stopped eating all of that. All of that what?
All the stuff that kills your heart.
Once a year, she cheats.
Once a year, she cheats and have all the good stuff.
No, wait, I cut it. I cut it back. But what she doesn't know, this is my sister. What she doesn't know is I'll take a portion of it, but the rest I'll leave alone. And she doesn't see that I don't eat it. I just make like I'm eating it.
Okay. And how was her food different from your food and your mom's food?
Well, I think they ate better than we did, to be honest. I mean, we ate the same types of foods, but I think their lifestyles were much active. And then I think my mom's life kind of was not as active as theirs, and so it made our lives less active.
Between my grandfather and my grandmother, she had a garden, but he had the whole fields, which they grew everything.
There was a lot of drugs going on the block. There was different houses on each side of the street that sold drugs. And you would see people traveling the street from side to side like zombies during the day and night. And after we got the garden started, I don't know whether they thought we were watching them or what, but after we got the garden started, then they was a little more quieter with it, didn't come out as much or whatever. And after we kept the garden going and got the police involved, then the drug houses was closed down, and that got rid of that. And by doing so, the neighbors that would come out to work in the garden, well, naturally we got to know each other. Then other people would come out, we talked to them, and we got to know every neighbor on the block. And so those that was not working directly in the garden, they would come out and talk, and I would tell them all the time, you don't have to come out and work if you don't want to. As far as I'm concerned, just come out and communicate. That's taking part of the garden too.
And we all, as healthcare providers and organizations, are charged with reaching and attaining certain quality goals, and that'll be more important with healthcare reform. I think if we can find other ways and other means by which we can educate different communities to use healthcare resources more appropriately, to be more compliant with their medication, to be much more aware and committed to taking care of their health, I think we can address those disparities both as overall and within individual organizations.
MSG is definitely in here. That brings out that good taste.
That's right.
And sometimes you shake when you eat too much MSG. I mean, at least my body does. Okay, would you read yours, please?
Okay, so serving size is 1 teaspoon, and there's 45 servings in this container. And each serving, you get 95 grams of sodium and 5 grams of cholesterol and 1.5 grams of fat in the teaspoon.
That's 1 teaspoon. You know how we use, we take us. We get enough so it tastes good. But we need to read that label so we can figure out how much we really do need to take.
We got good help, and we got great gardeners and people taking interest from the community. That's what we want to do all along. So we're just happy that we can be a part of it.
When major transformation is taking place all over the world, where individuals' health, community health, regional health, continental health, and just the health of our people, I believe that we are grappling and we are finding that we as a people, the fundamental constitution of our human system is very strong. And just as long as there are people like you who are willing to pause and focus and extract stories.
I would say that this is a community that really does, first of all, they know that they need health care. And they know that there's an opportunity for that to happen. But some of them are probably thinking, they're not going to think about us. They're not going to think about us because we're either older or too young. And have been and have probably been written off. And I would say to those that are in a position to make that decision is to not take that attitude. Don't write off. Don't overlook this community, because in fact there are people who need it, and there are people, as we've seen from our class, who really listen to the message that's been given about how to eat properly, and they take it in.